Now I'm really excited to have corn here this year, and this represents that last stop for the deer before they head out to the ag fields. So I'm hoping to hold a lot of deer here down in the draw, and at dark they're here and then they're going out into the ag fields, and we're keeping them safe by directing them to this side of the property and away from where there's other hunting lands or woods. At the same time, it's gonna be kind of cool to see them at night and around the house. Brandon from First Choice Food Plots came and he drilled these in for me. So a little bit different here is this was a 11-12-year-old CRP field for about 10 years. It had been here, it had been pretty fallow. So I had to spray a lot. I actually sprayed, the third time I sprayed was right around the time he was here in the spring, because I really wanted to hit these weeds. We got a late start because we didn't buy the property till June 5th. I might have sprayed a little bit before then. But Brandon left intentionally some open rows so we can spread some rye into the corn, and that was specifically so we could fill those gaps in nutrition, but also act as a soil improver going into next spring. It's a really good thatch to seed into. And it'll be something the deer can hit even in the spring with that green forage. It's also a time to remind you that if you have food plot failures or you have food plot openings, for example, we apply often 100 pounds of peas, 50 pounds of beans, 30 pounds of oats, and we specifically leave some room within that because it's a late planted forage in early August, like we did with our ultimate no-till just over the last few days. We specifically leave some room in that area so we can add 200 pounds of winter rye around Labor Day. I'll add that same 200 pounds of winter rye into this field right here. It'll help keep weeds down going into next spring, and it'll actually improve the soil a little bit. And then today what I'm doing is I'm going to a little bit extra step. It's early August. I have some tillage radish left over, and I would say out of this 2-acre field right here that there's about a ½ acre of corn that's not there for various reasons. And so I'm gonna spread this tillage radish into those areas. Tillage radish is a great food plot save in early August to the end of August, not one for September. Rye you can use all the way to the end of September. So I'm going to try to get some of these light areas of corn, put that tillage radish in. That tillage radish has a deep taproot. It pulls nutrients from deep in the earth up to the surface, so the plants like corn or following crops the following year can use it. It actually creates a rotting husk under the soil in the spring. That rotting husk fills with water, freezes, thaws, freezes, it lifts the soil. That's why they call it tillage radish. And at the same time, when that husk is covered with soil eventually after all the rains and mud, and it creates a nitrogen pocket in there that plants the following year can also use, or that summer. So we're kind of doing a 1-2 punch. We're going to put some tillage radish on here pretty light right now. I'm targeting around 7 to 8 pounds per acre, which is about a half a mix of tillage radish. And especially when we're just broadcasting like this. And then again, I'll follow up with 200 pounds of winter rye right in it. We're not going to take from the corn at all. We have some beautiful stalks in here, starting to get some little teeny ears. You can see some growth coming. And we're going to head and we'll follow up. And I hope this makes sense to you. And let's see what happens when we spin this out on the ground. And I want this right by my yard. You know, my house is right here, and it seems counterintuitive, but we have sides going down of this draw for 3/4 mile on each side. We have food plots there. So that's where I want to hold those deer right until dark. I'm hoping they head this way to hit the corn, the brassica mix. We have switchgrass down here, and then we're surrounded by ag. It's kind of look at this as a tip of a spear right by our house. We have a lot of hidden area right down here where deer can come into from. And so I'm going to spread this right by the house and all the way along this line right here and down there. And we'll see what that looks like. It's not a very thick amount that we're going. In fact, I'm going by feel at this point, but I'm going to say that the setting I should be on is right about here, and that's just a little bit more. I was spreading a brassica mix last time. Most of the brassica mixes I'm right around 1.5, and I'm putting this setting right at 2. Tillage radish is a little bit bigger seed. I want to go light. I would say if I was going to total just tillage radish blend without anything, which I can't remember that I've ever done that, but I'd be more about 2.5 to get that full mixture. Hey, sorry to interrupt this video, but my web class series is finally begun. How to design your whitetail property is on my website, and there's a link in the description. Please check it out. Now you see we have a lot of areas that are open in here. We had a lot of mud that day. We had areas of very thick thatch and areas where we didn't. So a lot of inconsistent surface. which will be taken care of by the rye and tillage radish this year going into next year when we plant here. There's some areas where the corn's pretty thick. Tillage radish won't take off because it needs full sun. And you look at it like, if the corn's thick enough that it's going to shade out the ground, it's probably good enough, you know, that it's going to be good on its own. Tillage radish just won't grow. And then we have areas like this with light and poorly shaped corn, poorly grown, and we can expect tillage radish to come into these areas. We have a long strip out here by the driveway, and I feel like that area probably was shaved off the top to give soil and build up the driveway that was coming in here. So it's a consistent strip all the way down. Probably saw that when I was just tilling in here, but when I get into some of these rows, I don't know if you guys have used an earthway spreader, you can really vary just by going very slow your width that you spread. A lot of people say, you know, what setting should it be on? Well, kind of depends on how fast you walk and how fast you spin your arms too. So keep in mind to that, but pretty easy just to go down a strip that's 4 feet wide and spread 4 feet of whatever you're spreading with a hand spreader like this. Not so easy to do on an ATV spreader or larger spreaders. I planted all our food plots this year, other than this corn right here, 3.5 acres. The other 14 acres, 13 acres, we planted all by hand with a bag spreader. It seems like a lot of work, but there's a lot of control when you're doing it, and you can make sure that you're getting the appropriate amount of seed to the soil, no matter how wide the area or narrow the area, like in between this corn. It's starting to rain right now, so I'm gonna get spreading here and hopefully get this on the ground. We've already had a lot of rain. The soil's damp. I bet you this tillage radish is gonna take off right away when we get it on the ground. We have an open spot in the middle there. I'm not sure why, but it's a pretty bare spot, so we're gonna go fill that spot. I have one little more row on the outside here that I need to get. You can see that area of light corn where it's kind of shaved all the way along the side. There's an open area up there, and then I'll step down to the area below the driveway. Now we're really hoping to improve the soil in this area, but at the same time, it's inconsistent because, again, I think that certain areas of topsoil were borrowed to build up whatever. Below the driveway, it's all green, bright green. You can see how bright green this is. We've applied approximately 175 pounds per acre of urea twice. So right close to 100 pounds of nitrogen twice, but I think it's really paid off. It's a deep, deep green. You notice that we're getting good corn growth. Tillage radish will improve the soil. The rye will improve that seed base going into next year, and that thatch that can be drilled into. So we'll have a lot more consistent corn next year, but I'm really happy with this. This is our middle area that I said was open for some reason. I wouldn't be surprised to see a shed in here this year, but there's a lot of ways, whether you're filling in corn with tillage radish, you're adding rye to your corn plots or to your food plots for food plot salvage. Tillage radish is great to save a food plot with. So you can never take, I don't want to take this bare area right here into hunting season, and you don't have to, you don't ever have to. And we're going to hit it double this year with the tillage radish and the rye. And you can bet on any of the other food plots. I'll give you an example. Sometimes with the buckwheat, people, because they're not seeing the seed hit the ground when they're spreading through the buckwheat, then a lot of times you might get too much, too little. So it always pays to follow up and look at your plantings, whatever they are, whether it's corn or a brassica field or the oats, peas, and rye. And about a week after germination, you get a couple good rains, then you're going to notice if it's too light. If it's too light, just simply add some more. It's not going to matter if it's 7 to 10 days behind the first planting. You're going to fill space. And if you want to wait till you get into that early September to end of September time frame, depending on if you're in upstate New York all the way down to West Virginia, then you can always apply that 200 pounds of rye right into those openings and still save your plot. There's never a reason to take soil, open ground into the season. Areas where I'm planting switchgrass during the fall or during the spring for frost seeding next year, you can bet, you know, in a lot of those areas, if they relate to a hunting food source that I can put in, I'm going to put in oats or brassica this year. They'll be dead during the winter. Great spot to frost seed switchgrass. We're actually going to be frost seeding switchgrass into the outside layer of this corn along with some pollinator blends. So follow along. We'll be doing a lot throughout the year. I want to show you all these pieces. This red earthway broadcaster right here, I think I've gone through about 14 acres with it this year. Rich went through one with one of our other earthways too, and we still have fertilizer to go, but these little things will last a long time. There's a lot of junk on the market right now. This is the best bag spreader you can buy. I've used them for about 20 years. And And you know, they're not a permanent back spreader. It's not something that's going to last you 10 years, especially if you're planting 20 acres of food plots like I am this year, 18 acres, whatever it is, and a lot of fertilizer. So hope you enjoy this video, and I can't wait to show you later on in the year when everything's growing, that tillage radish in here. But again, I'm hoping to find a shed here or two, let alone sheds down here in the woods and the switchgrass that's coming in the other food plots. And that's always a lot of fun too, especially if we can hold them, protect them, advance them in the next stage class, and in the end, create a great herd and hunt this season.